IVM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fighting G.O.A.T, episode 12, where we had a great episode 11 with none other than Ritu Phogat. But this time, it's just Team Chips and Team Kamra, and we'll take you through exciting week that was. Chips, hit it up from here.
Oh man, it's so good to be back. Episode 12, we're on the Fighting G.O.A.T. We've been listening to the Fighting G.O.A.T. We've had a lot of people that came in and wrote into us about so many things with regards to the Fighting G.O.A.T, especially the team challenges. And so we're going to mix up a few things for you here today. And hopefully in the future, the team challenges will be face to face. So that's something to look forward to. But man, Somesh, what a week it was though. We had two great fight cards. We had ONE FC's Dangal that took place in Singapore on the 15th of May. And we had the UFC 262, which took place was it in Vegas or was it in Texas?
It was in the Toyota Arena in Houston, Texas.
In Texas. Well, that explains the wild crowd, because during the Lando Vanata fight, there was a brawl in the stands.
Yes, there was.
I mean, it's expected, man. It's Texas. So,
going back to those old days of Pride, where people fought more in the crowds than in the octagon.
Oh, I remember those, man. I remember, fans get... it's not even unruly. It just happens, it's the excitement sometimes that can get the better of you. Or somebody must have said, "Ek dusre ko gali diya hoga, sale kya bola tune mere bare mein?" And that's what happened.
Yeah. But Chips, man, ONE Championship heavyweight contender, Arjan Bhullar, Indian origin, Canadian born. But man, he's the new heavyweight champion. Do we have a local heavyweight champion?
No, I mean, we've never even in organizations like Super Fight League, Super Boxing League. I mean, we've seen heavyweight talent, but I think this is India's first heavyweight that has gone abroad and proven his mettle in international waters in a tough organization against a tough contender in Brandon Vera.
Yeah, exactly.
And he did a great job.
Brandon Vera, former UFC fighter, is no joke. Yes, he's 43 years old, but so what, man? Beating a fighter in the heavyweight category in itself is an achievement. And man, we're so proud of him. Arjan Bhullar, kudos to you. We are so proud of you back here.
Absolutely.
1.4 billion strong.
Absolutely, man. Arjan Bhullar, if you're hearing this, now you know where to come. Now you know who to reach out to. And speaking of people who are going to reach out to us, we've got a surprise for maybe in the next episode or the next episode, but we've got perennial ONE FC contender Gurdarshan Gary Mangat, who won his last fight as well against Roshan Mainam.
Yes.
He is going to be on the Fighting G.O.A.T with us.
I cannot wait for this gentleman to come on. He's so exciting. He's a great guy. But yeah, our previous guest, Ritu Phogat, could not make it, Chips.
No, man, I know we've said it on the Fighting G.O.A.T more than once that whenever we pick somebody to win, they've won. Yeah. And I think our winning streak there has ended.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's so disappointing, no?
And simultaneously, it was the first loss for Team Chips after what seems like a But it's okay. Yeah. I mean, you know what the funny part is? If you listen to last week's episode, I actually said it that I have a feeling I might be losing. So your
prediction of you losing actually came right.
Exactly. So technically it should be 6-0, if you look at it that way.
No, but this is the Fighting G.O.A.T and not the prediction G.O.A.T. So when it comes to the Fighting G.O.A.T, you pick on the fights.
Arey bhai, backlog bahut hai aapka. You won one. There's a lot of backlog.
Well, see, there was a time between 1999 and 2001 when Ajit Agarkar scored 7 consecutive ducks in Australia. And in the 8th test match, when he scored his first run, he put his bat up like he made a century. So honestly, that is my state of mind right now.
And then he got 7 more ducks, right?
In his backyard.
Yeah, correct. Ghar pe hoga. So it's the same thing with you now. Exactly. You won one, and now let's see what happens. But we do this for fun, man. It's so much fun. There's no real, that's the funny part, man. You can't predict the sport. You just cannot. It is the most impossible thing to do. And we'll get to those aspects when we get to, the UFC lightweight new champion and the fights that took place on that card. But we look at the entire ONE FC card, man, what a way forward. That Dangal card was such a stepping stone because it aired on Star Sports in India. It aired on Hotstar on the OTT platform app. And it was such a success because so many Indian people tuned in to see not just Ritu Phogat, but also Arjan Bhullar, also Roshan Mainam, also Gurdarshan Gary Mangat. So there was a lot of representation locally.
Absolutely, yes. And in fact, even the CEO Chhatri actually spoke about it. And he said that we have named a card after the Indian fighters because we want to tap that market. And man, what a job they are doing. Such a positive way forward for the Indian MMA scene. I mean, I just cannot wait for this organization to tap into the Indian market and get into India, maybe develop talent, see as to how it comes up, amateur leagues. There's so much that can be done.
I think that is a plan, I mean, there has to be a plan eventually, Somesh.
Right.
Because anybody who shows interest in a country, like, I mean, you talked me through this. I remember you and I were having a drink the other day, and we were having this conversation about how when you went to China for the first time, and you saw UFC's Performance Institute, which was like what? Like some 90,000 square foot.
Oh, no. So I went to the one in Vegas.
You went to the one in Vegas, but I think what I was talking about is that Performance Institute, though, which opened in Shanghai, was a way for the UFC to start figuring out local talent.
Absolutely, yes.
And they started getting that kind of talent from the country. And I think guys like ONE FC. Do you think? I really think I think guys like Chhatri and Dana and all these guys, they cannot overlook a market like India for too long.
No chance. It's just about grooming the right talent and putting them on a platform where they'll perform and eventually, kind of grow from there. See, because as a financial model, it makes absolute sense for them because, see, they are on TV. It's one of the biggest audiences out here. I mean, if you only look at China and India combined, I think we're probably 40-45% of the world's population. And, even if we tap into like a small percentage of that, I think that's a very good market for these guys. And, why not? Because the 2019 BARC report said that there were 100 million viewers to UFC live shows in 2019 from India.
That's and it's increasing. I mean, when guys like Brock Lesnar came into the UFC, the views just went up. Absolutely. Then when guys like Conor McGregor, who took the sport to another level in terms of the PR and marketing ability, and kind of that his entire Instagram profile, the Mac Life, where he shows off his bling and his training and his hard work and everything. And it kind of has set a pattern in India where a lot of people have started following him. And because of following him, the UFC got so many eyeballs.
And imitating him also.
And of course, imitating him. So many guys try to imitate the king, man. But the ONE FC as well, with the amount of PR that they did, especially with, The Apprentice, which is still airing on TV. And which has Ritu Phogat, had Neeraj Puran Singh, Neeraj Puran Rao, sorry, my mistake, Neeraj, sorry, you can hit me later.
Were you thinking about Archana Puran Singh?
Yeah, maybe. I just watched some show and I saw Archana Puran Singh also. There's a story about that also. One day I'll tell you. But anyway, coming back. So it's I think the organizations that are being very smart about it. And ONE FC is being incredibly smart about it. And there are even organizations like Brave. I was talking to Mohammed Shahid, who is running Brave. He's a former fighter. He's a great fighter. He fought in Super Fight League and many other organizations. And he was telling me the same thing. It's of course, since it's a Middle Eastern organization, their focus is right now on Middle Eastern fighters, but that they want to bring Brave to India. They want to come to India.
Right.
And I think the same thing, that was the same plan Kumite One League had as well.
Yes. You see, in fact, it's not rocket science. I mean, where you have the crowds, the biggest organizations want to be there. And the fact that India has such a rich purchasing power at this point of time makes it a market that they cannot ignore. Because, see, maybe about 30 years back, people of your age group and my age group would, maybe be parents and, kind of struggling to make ends meet and, stuff like that. But right now, I think times have changed. Disposable income has become a thing that everybody has. And mobile internet has such good penetration in India and it's not expensive. So I just see this as a win-win situation for organizations to come in. Like Sony has Sony Live, Disney has Hotstar. So honestly,
Dude,
even if you don't have a cable connection, you can watch everything on your mobile phone at as low as $199 a month. So, it's not like the American pay-per-view model, which is like $70 per fight. We probably pay $70 for the entire year of cable subscription.
It's so funny that you say that because 2 weeks back we watched Canelo versus Saunders, and I watched it on the DAZN app, and the DAZN app is like something like $500 a year. A year,
which is not even $10. Basically,
that's not even funny. That's like if you're a fan, you would not think at all. As a fan, I wouldn't think if it was $50. But to penetrate a market, that is such a great rate. And companies like DAZN are smart,
right?
And company and so is the UFC, because they tied up to do with Sony to do all the pay-per-views free, and we don't pay a dime here. All you got to do is maybe buy like a digital subscription. Basically, you have to have like a Tata Sky or a Airtel or a whatever, which is to be able to see it.
$30 a month or something,
which is like nothing. I think it's like with the Tata Sky Plus, it's like why are we giving Tata Sky so much of PR?
This segment was brought to you by Tata Sky.
We have to speak to our producers and find out कि ये शायद से ये सुनने के बाद they can pitch this part, like अच्छा ये लोग ने ये बोला, अच्छा okay Tata Sky में, अच्छा इसी Tata Sky हर महीने के इतने रुपए में बिकता है, आप UFC content देख सकते हो.
One second. This is a Jingalala segment of the day.
And coming back to the Jingalala segment, ONE FC great card, and then we slide over to UFC 262. Which was historic because it took 1,132 days for a new champion to be crowned in that lightweight division.
Oh,
Khabib Nurmagomedov had ruled it for that long.
Very true. And in fact, if Khabib wanted, he would have ruled it for another 1,133 days.
Yeah, but he's also pakod,
Yeah, but well, yes, but I guess it was more of the mother's sentimental value that came in the picture, and after his dad passed
away,
he just didn't want to continue. But man, what a great statistic, 1,132 days later, we have a new champion. It could have been the opponent, like Chandler could have won it.
Man, don't even say that.
He was so close to finishing it, but I don't know. Like that entire Dan Hooker situation came in front of his eyes, my eyes, everybody's eyes, and he just didn't finish it. And round two, man, he came back 19 seconds and finished it off. And 11 years in the UFC, Charles Oliviera is the new lightweight champion.
It's so funny, when you look at the statistics. He came to the UFC. Charles Oliviera was 20 years old when the UFC signed him, and he is now 31. It took him 11 years to complete that journey, where he saw so many ups, so many downs. He saw even a 3-fight skid where he had lost 3 fights in a row.
Yeah.
He saw he saw so much of adversity.
Yes.
And it was such a beautiful moment. I think, see, look, we both rooted for our own fighters.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's, Michael Chandler has been a former champion.
Yeah.
Michael Chandler has been Bellator champion. He's seen adversity himself.
3-time Bellator champion. So he kind of lost one, 3 times.
Exactly. And that was at featherweight, and he moved up to lightweight.
Yeah.
Then came so close to capturing the gold. But you know what? That is not like, I don't want to sound insensitive by saying this, but I think Charles has put in the time. It's his time. Well, it's his moment now.
You see, what you're saying is spot on, because it's definitely for the sport. I believe Charles totally deserved it.
Yeah.
But there's also a marketing business angle to it.
Of course, man.
Dana likes these stories. He wants to paint pictures. And imagine if Chandler, in his second UFC fight in one of the worst divisions, like 155 pounds, one of the scariest divisions in the entire roster, he would have come, and in the second fight, he was this close onto smashing Charles Oliveira's 11-year UFC career out of the park. What a picture that would have been. Man, this guy would have been the next corner. See, Charles is great, of course, but Chandler can also talk absolute crap, but he does it well. He does it with respect.
True. It's not trash. I mean, he's just making, it's like what what Chael Sonnen likes to say, I make observations. Observations that don't exist. But oh God, I love Chael. Nobody beats Chael, man.
No chance. Yeah,
Nobody beats.
He's a great guy. But yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, it would have bbeen picture perfect if Chandler would have won it. But if you
see the way it went down,
yeah,
it's just he got so close. I remember I think there was a minute and a half remaining, and he landed that flurry which sent Oliveira to the mat.
Yeah,
covering up, buckling, trying to survive. And in my head, I was screaming expletives at the TV. I was cursing the TV, saying, "Back away!
Yeah,
let him stand. Do not." But you know what? It's when you're in there, you don't think straight. Your adrenaline is all over the place.
True.
And like you said yesterday we were talking on the Ultimate Guide, we dissected the shit out of this fight. And we talked about how it's just, he related it to the Dan Hooker situation. Mm-hmm. He couldn't think of anything else. And he just had to do that.
You know what happens when you're put in an adverse situation, your instinct takes over, your gut takes over. You may not really think of strategies and plans and I need to back off. When you're there and you're going for the kill, honestly, you can't blame the guy. He went there. He must have thought of his son and his wife and what all he's worked for all these years, and he said, yes, this is the moment I have to finish it. And he just had to go for the kill. But, honestly, sometimes to finish off a fight, you need to take one step back. And then, go
just take
all
a second.
guns blazing. Yeah,
I think he just got overexcited. I think because he just went crazy, he got overexcited. And you know what? That's not the end of his. It's not like he had some lopsided fucking loss.
Yeah, it was close.
It was very close, man. I mean, Charles had to fight for that victory.
Well, Charles Oliveira even got his back. And Chandler fought off.
That was just messed up the way he just.
It was a body triangle. It was it's so difficult to get out of Charles Oliveira's body triangle.
No, it's so difficult to get out of a body triangle. Let's start there. Forget Charles Oliveira body triangle. That's like saying it's hard to win a race on wet roads, let alone win a race against Schumacher.
Exactly. But this guy fought all of that off. And in fact, he was putting the pressure on Oliveira. Normally, it's Oliveira who puts the pressure on his opponents. Chandler was stepping on the gas versus him. And man, in round 2, something.
It just happened. It's Oliveira's instinct took over, and Chandler got caught. He got caught badly coming.
Yeah.
And he got caught badly coming, and it's okay. Everybody can get caught. It's all right. It's not the end of the world. And he was so classy in defeat. But, it's such a muddled up picture now, because the fight before this one was the main event with Tony Ferguson and Beneil Dariush. And we both bet on, maybe the resurgence of Ferguson. Because you remember when Max Holloway dropped 3 fights. He lost to Poirier. He lost to Volkanovski twice.
Yeah.
And he had lost 3 fights himself.
Yeah.
And then we saw the resurgence of Max Holloway. Oof. He put a beating on Calvin Kattar like Kattar owed him money.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I know it's not a nice thing to say, but it's just, I have no other way of describing the savagery.
Yeah.
He looked like a Bhavandari Tufan that day.
It also comes down to age and, the thing
how old is Max? Yeah. Max is also 30 something only.
31 years old. Yeah.
He's 31.
Yeah. He's young.
Oh, I thought he was around 35, 36.
No. I think he's about 30, 31. So he's quite young. But at the same time, the corner of Tony Ferguson, where he had his coaches, he had got Freddie Roach for this camp to work on his boxing. And, all his videos, you can just, kind of get onto his Instagram. You can see the videos. The videos were, all these slicing elbows and the nice technique and his head movement.
Where was it?
Somehow it just didn't transition into the fight.
I don't know. It's a little later. We're going to be talking about the psychology of fighting. And I think, a lot of people, a lot of negativity from the press that comes.
Yeah.
I fucking hate social media. Okay. I completely despise it. I do it only because I have to do it.
Right.
Otherwise, personally, I don't care if I want to share a picture of my coffee in the morning with the rest of the world. I really don't care. I'm sorry, I'm an 80s kid, dude. I was born in 83 and it's just in social media doesn't come naturally to me like they do for the other young kids now.
Correct.
And it's already hard to lose. It's hard to lose. It's hard to lose for a proud fighter.
Yeah.
But when somebody comes up to you and asks your boss in front of you, like, do you think you're done? Do you think you're washed up? I mean, could you be more rude?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not right, man. It's not right do that.
It's not, I mean,
it's just not right.
But the thing is that, see, you know what? The media exposure has changed so drastically over the last 10 years.
Vultures.
That there are more people who are looking at your possible downfall because that makes a good story.
Yeah, but come on, since when did that become the focal point of anything, man? I mean, if today we don't celebrate the fact that Rocky lost to Drago. We celebrate the fact that Rocky won despite everything going wrong.
Yeah, true. But again, that's a 70s, 80s movie, So the narrative, the narrative was very different from what it is right now. And I just feel that sometimes, like the game up there is so competitive that you need to be bulletproof 24 hours in front of the media. There's no showing off. You just need to be so calm, composed, and these things shouldn't get in your head. But after a while, if you keep knocking, the ice is going to crack. So I mean,
look at guys like Rampage. I mean, he snapped back at Ariel Halbani. Had those questions. Yeah, he loves to ask those questions directly because that's what gets you the hits on your channel and whatnot.
Exactly.
And that's what even the media does everywhere. It's just to get the numbers. And it's Rampage got up and said, it's like, I'm not going to answer your questions because I know what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
And Jones also did the same thing. He's like, I don't want to answer. I remember, I think it was Bonner who was asking Jones a couple of questions, and Jones is like, I will talk to anybody but you.
But what? See, the thing is that era of fighters was very different. Like right now, everybody wants to be a nice gentleman and wear the suit and be nice and answer everybody in an ethical manner. But those. I mean, if you ask Connor these questions, he's probably going to back answer you. He's going to laugh.
Who the is that?
And,
but that's good, That's what I think. And I think Tony, with that loss, he's now lost third. And Benil Dariush, man, I mean, there's nothing to say about him. It's by the way, for the news report, the medical reports came back. Tony, because of the heel hook that was applied in round number 2, he's torn his knee.
Oof.
For the second time at the age of 38. And it's going to take him 6 months to a year to come back now after that.
Yep.
And
I certainly wish he doesn't come back because I pretty much feel his time is up. He doesn't need to go on a Donald Cerrone losing streak to kind of prove his legacy.
It's what even Daniel Cormier said. No? It's you can be wild. Remember this fighter called Keith Jardine?
Oh yes.
Back in the day. I mean, like he is one of the fighters who outpointed Chuck Liddell even.
I remember that. Keith Jardine.
And I remember he had a herky-jerky style. He had very awkward movements and wild angles and stuff.
Right.
But the minute he faced a technical striker, he got whooped.
He got caught. He
didn't get caught. He started getting caught every time.
Yeah.
He got and of course Wanderlei Silva put the icing on the cake when he fought Keith Jardine. He knocked him out in like some 30 seconds in the most brutal fashion.
Right.
Ever. And it's just we see the same thing. Tony was crazy, but a technical striker like Justin Gaethje made him pay for it so badly.
Oh man, that
fight has taken a few years off his life.
Absolutely. And I feel that fights like a Gaethje versus Ferguson are pretty much permanent damage fights.
I mean even Gaethje was like, he's like, my hands are broken hitting you.
Yeah.
Because it's just his toughness he's just so tough. Like he will grimace, he will whine, but he never tap.
Yeah.
And I think Charles Oliveira had him in that armbar, which would have made everybody and the world tap.
Yeah.
But Tony survived. But then look at for the rest of the fight and the rest of the next 6 months, his hand was dead.
Yeah.
He couldn't use that arm and he got dominated. Same thing we saw against him. His knee got torn. He couldn't move his left leg. And then after that, he got dominated.
Man, that's crazy. That's so crazy. In fact, just this morning, I saw Tony Ferguson's Instagram account, and there was this photo of a cross, and Jesus was on it, and just below it there was somebody giving Jesus an arm bar, and it said Jesus didn't tap. So I don't know if he's comparing himself to Jesus or what.
But say
but
what you
Tony
want
for you.
That's Tony for you, man. He's a character, and we wish him very, very well. And I think just to cap off the card was another Brazilian. It was the fight of the night, and it was so good to see him in rare vintage form, because when he's on, there are very few human beings in the world that can step up to him. This guy we're talking about is Edson Barboza, and he took on a very, very tough contender in Shane Burgos.
Yes.
Who's a stud himself. He's so tough, so durable, but it's when two people, and it was such an old school fight, because none of them decided to back down. There was a point where it's you look at the replays and you see there's his Edson Barboza's right shin had split. Yeah. It had split and was bleeding all over the place, and he was still kicking with it.
Yeah. It's so funny that these Brazilians have a completely different way of functioning. It's like being on a different planet altogether. Barboza used to compete in the lightweight division earlier, and he didn't have a good skid there. And when he dropped down, to
he was doing fine till he faced Khabib.
Yes. Absolutely. But a lot of people change after facing Khabib, after facing Jones. They don't stay they don't mentally stay the same. So so Barboza, when he came back down, he had an absolute, great career from there on. And
according to him, it's still 3-0.
Well,
it's still 3-0.
Well, poor Danny Ige.
Poor Danny Ige, man. I mean, but even when your boss says it at the press conference, like, this is the man that won. It's that same line from Rocky where Mickey is there. I don't care what them judges said. This is the man that won the fight. Oh man, I remember that.
You know what? Judging on UFC 262 was so off. It was so off.
Horrible, man. I mean, people talk. We will get to it. We'll get to it. But we just wanted to say, it's Barboza is how old is Barboza now? He's what, 35, 36 himself, right?
Yeah. Barboza, I think 34, 35. Yeah.
He looks like a god, though. His abs have abs. Yeah. Like it's literally like most MMA fighters don't want to take their shirts off in front of Barboza.
Yeah.
Most MMA guys, let alone the Aam Janta like us. And it's just his a lot of people say, like, when you age, you start losing your rhythm, you start losing this, you start losing that. But I think guys like Barboza and Oliveira and Silva and all these guys were cut from a very different cloth. It's that they were forged in the fires of shooter box.
Yes.
And that, I think that because of the fact that they go so hard in the sparring and and not just sparring, I think it's also mental conditioning.
Well, there was one time where most of the champions in the UFC were all Brazilians.
Yeah, man, those were the good days. Yeah. I miss those days.
And if you see, like from Aldo at 135 all the way to Verdum at heavyweight.
145, featherweight. Aldo was at featherweight.
145 all the way to Verdum. There were always these champions there were always 2 or 3 Brazilian champions at any given point of time. And
I remember it was Aldo. I remember Aldo, Silva, Machida, Junior Dos Santos were all at one time together, the champs.
Yeah, it's crazy. And if you do a profile check on these guys, they all have the similar profile.
Henan Barao at bantamweight as well. Henan
Barao was there. So these guys all have the same story. It's all poverty driven, don't have money, working in the farm, playing football. But man, when these guys come on the big show, they prove what they're made of. It's not about having multivitamins at 11 a.m. and fish oil at 4 p.m. They don't even care. They probably didn't even have food to eat.
Dude, they didn't.
They have the heart. They have the grit. They have the guts. They have the courage to step up to competition and say, killed or get killed.
It's true.
And I love that attitude of the Brazilians. And honestly, nobody can take it out of them. They are just so gritty and so tough that, man, I just want to get those days back, or or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of those days, when we come back after a quick commercial break, we've got a lot more stories coming up, and especially some of the stories from both Somesh and my past with regards to some of the things that we're going to talk about today, only on episode 12 of The Fighting G.O.A.T. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Cred, thewholetruthfoods.com, and Seat Tires. We really do appreciate the support. So the last year's been tough for all of us, and the second wave of COVID really hit us badly. To help those affected by the pandemic in India, the podcasting community has come together under the Pod for Change banner to raise funds through an exclusive NGO partner, Give India. Join IVM and Pod for Change as we look to make a positive impact in the life of those affected by COVID-19. You can go to tinyurl.com/podforchangeindia, and remember, somebody could really use the help. And now back to the promo. On the Simplified podcast, the gang explains the oxygen crisis happening in the country and tells us the various measures being taken to tackle it. On States of Anarchy, Hamsani Hariharan talks about how the geopolitical relationships shaped COVID response and the world order. As Indians, we're all familiar with acid reflux or heartburn, given the spicy food we consume. On The Habit Coach, Ashton has some simple solutions to counter that. Osama Moria explores the iconic neighborhood of Dadar and tells us its connection to outer space in Postcards from Nowhere. It was Dangal time on The Fighting G.O.A.T. as hosts Somesh and Arjun were joined by unbeaten MMA fighter and Commonwealth gold medalist Ritu Phogat. The traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh shares examples of various innovations that came up during the COVID times and helped us deal with the situation. And with that, let us get you back to your show.
Welcome to episode 12 of The Fighting G.O.A.T, where Chips and Kamra break this down for you. We're just having a general conversation here. No round one, no round two. We're just going with the flow.
Aaj barish ho raha hai, yaar. I mean, there's a cyclone going on. It's got, this is also one more thing I love about, being in Bombay. Or it's not just a Bombay thing, it's an Indian thing.
Yeah.
It's the minute everybody bitches and moans about the rains after 1 week,
Yeah.
But the first rain that hits, it's, the temperature drops from 400 degrees to something like 26 degrees. And then it becomes windier and the skies become gray. And my neighbor is making pakoras and chai. I can smell it. And I've never spoken to him, but I want to make friendship today just for the food. And it's just a reminder that and you see the kids playing downstairs and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder that no matter how shitty and bleak life is the small things in life that actually can make us happy.
Absolutely correct. In fact, we are going through such a tough time, but as Chips rightly said, if you look at the smaller things in life, I think we can get happiness from every little situation out there. And speaking of pakoras and chai, the reason why you don't have abs on abs is because you make friendship with such people.
I know what to do, yaar. I mean, now Edson Barboza pakoda aur chai khata nahi hai na. Abhi kya karega, yaar? But it's such a funny thing. Like MMA fans everywhere.
Yeah.
It's when you watch fights, it's associated with beers and alcohol and wings and this and that. And don't get me wrong, I'll be the first person to drink.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But it's just as also, that 7:30 in the morning card when it reaches, it plays on Sony, is that perfect time for some good nashta in India.
Exactly.
Like, I remember I called up, I ordered like some nice masala dosa, one idli, I made some great chai, and I sat down and I watched the fights.
Oh man, that most people in India actually complain that why the cards don't come in the evening. We should be at Hard Rock Cafe washing it with beer.
That's also true. That's also true. I would love to see it at night as well.
I was like, listen, you anyways are going out on a Saturday. Why not start a Sunday with some good fights, some good nashta and some good chai? Why not? It's a different thing. I mean, it's a different perspective of life.
It is. I mean, but it's also a function of getting older, Somesh. Come on, man. In my mid-20s, when I started watching fights, I would be like, screw this. Chai hatao, nikalo daru. But it's just one of those. You can notice, if you notice the timbre of our voices. We're a little calmer. We're a little more relaxed today.
Yeah.
Temperature has dropped. We're not so hyper. We're not dying of the garmi. So it's relatively a good day. But we spoke before the commercial break, we were talking about, it's about that mentality. It's about calming down, about staying calm, and how important it translates to in terms of in fighting. I mean, we saw somebody who is, normally so calm and so normally so ready in those situations. Chandler may have gotten a little overexcited in that first round and made some mistakes that only he will punish himself for. According to me, it was not a mistake. It happens. It is the most common thing that happens in fights.
Very true. Very true.
And then on the other hand, where you see some fighters that have just cannot get back to the mindset that they were, like Tony Ferguson. I mean, that man went on one of the biggest runs, taking out a murderer's row in that division.
Yep.
I mean, to do that to the kind of fighters that he's faced is unreal. And for him to go from, I mean, we saw the stats, Somesh. I mean, I don't mean to come back to it. It's just something at the top of my head because he threw 15 strikes, out of which 10 were on the ground.
Correct. See, but Chips, like what happens that if you speak of both these fighters, if you speak of somebody like a Tony Ferguson, whose 12-fight win streak is only behind Khabib's 13-fight win streak in the UFC, the kind of fighters that Tony has fought are the killers of the killers.
Yeah, man.
They're
all murderers. They're all assassins.
They are top of the line guys, and I was like, man, see, like Tony Ferguson. 6 fight of the nights, one KO of the night. He's got 3 performance bonuses. But if you look at someone like Dariush, who's 32 years old now, his 7-fight win streak is like.
Doesn't that Dariush sound like Dhanush?
Yeah, he does.
Let's not go there. We're already going to get our asses kicked.
Yeah.
Benil Dariush is an awesome guy, and we just fooling around, guys.
You do know that Dhanush's father-in-law is the great Rajnikant. So we should not mess around with that.
No, man. No jokes on the names. Not even being called Bunty and stuff.
Yeah. So like someone like Dariush, who technically is on a 7-fight win streak, has won versus Diego Ferreira, Thiago Moses, Drew Dauber, Drakkar Klose,
and that too in spectacular fashion.
They are nowhere close to who Tony Ferguson has beaten. But in any sportsman's life, motivation, dedication, these things need to come naturally, and after a while, be it cricket, football, basketball, or MMA, guys just lose motivation. They think they are mentally there, but honestly, once the cage door closes, things just change. The motor doesn't go off, and we're seeing that with people like Tony Ferguson. We're seeing it with Donald Cowboy Cerrone. We're seeing the fact that they just switch off, and it's not their fault.
No, see, do you remember before Khabib and Frankie Edgar?
Yeah.
The longest reigning lightweight champion was BJ Penn.
Yeah.
And BJ Penn had the same problem. He had a problem of motivation.
Yeah.
The talent and the skills were already there. I mean, for someone to be a ADCC champion in 3 years is unheard of.
Yeah.
And for him to be a grandmaster of the ADCC in 3 years is a special skill to have in terms of grappling.
Very true.
And somebody like BJ Penn, who had naturally good boxing, great hands, great speed, versatility, wildness, craziness, and he fell off the blocks a little bit. I think after that GSP fight, he kind of, he quit for a bit.
Right.
And and this is what I remember seeing an interview. He's like, I just needed to change everything in my life. From the way I eat, to the way I sleep, to the way I did things, to my training schedules, to my life, to everything.
But, Chips, that's such a bitter pill to swallow, because, once you have reached the pinnacle of your career, and if someone tells you that you need to change, somehow you're like, but I've been the best.
But why not? Hang on. So the BJ Penn went to Marv Marinovich, who was a very different kind of trainer. He trained NFL guys.
Yeah.
And he found that one hole in his training. And then you saw what happened when he came back and took on Kenny Florian and Diego Sanchez. Yeah. He destroyed them, dude. He looked like the BJ Penn of old. It's like the same thing Max Holloway did. He changed up his training. He didn't spar anymore. He did something. And I don't know. I think that did not translate to Tony this time. He went to one of the best boxing coaches in the world, but we couldn't see even a little bit of it.
Correct.
So,
I just think it's a matter of mindset, and once the mind is switched off, it's very difficult to get
true,
into that box.
you're right. You're right.
So whilst the training videos may look good, and I think in the pre-fight press con, I mean, Tony was just going off, and we all spoke about it. We said, okay, he's putting all his eggs in one basket, and if this does not translate to a victory, man, it's the end of the boogeyman. And pretty much that's what we saw.
You remember talking to Mr. Ashton Doctor on the Habit Coach about, tendencies and habits in general.
Yeah.
And how important it is that we change up our routines.
Correct.
And stuff. Just to keep our minds different. Of course, I'm not talking, we're not even comparing with pro athletes, because these guys are on a different level of pressure at the end of the day.
Right.
But I think a lot of MMA fighters, like look at Jones, he's taken 2-3 years off now.
Yeah.
And even Connor, when he took those 2 years off and he came on and took on Cerrone, you look at the difference it made. It made a huge difference. True. GSP took 4 years off, came back and won against Bisping. Right. He won the belt against Bisping. Maybe for such high successful, it's like what GSP said a long time ago, to function like a sports car, to function like a Formula One car, I have to also have Formula One elements in me.
Correct.
If I don't find that happening, then I'm not going to race anymore.
Absolutely. But see, I absolutely agree with that. But, there are some fighters who've been fighting for such a long time that do not have very high fight purses. Maybe they cannot take that time off. Precisely why the element of marketing and a good agent and a good, PR person comes into the picture. Because see, someone like Jones, who earns $1 million, $2 million, $3 million per fight, he can easily take a few years off because he has that financial backing with him.
But why not go to a different, look at what Robbie Lawler did, man. Robbie Lawler went to a different organization.
Yeah.
He fought, he went somewhere else and fought for a few years. Yeah. And when he came back to the UFC, he had come back rejuvenated.
Very true.
He looked like an animal when he came back, and he went on a tear and became the champ.
Yeah.
And he was a superstar.
It's just a matter of having good people around you that can think for you and not for themselves. Like, for example, the perfect example is with Diego Sanchez. What happened with his coach Joshua Fabia.
It's sad. It's just messed up.
And after that, having like those videos put out on YouTube of him crying, and that little upside down training that was happening, and
that's complete bullshit. Which the whole MMA community has come out and said is a bag of crap.
Well, yeah, and in fact, Diego Sanchez just I think a few days back has released a statement where he said he left a few family members for Joshua.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think I'm on the right path and this and that. But it is so scary, when the entire world is seeing you go down the drain, but you think that, no, I'm making the perfect call. I think you need some different kind of help out here.
Before we wrap up our series for tonight, before we wrap up our episode, I wanted to just, compare the mindset of fighters to another sport, which is grueling. Yeah. I would say in a similar bracket, because we've heard a lot of stuff in the news about it also, there was a time where the World Wrestling Federation had a lot of issues with their own fighters, with their own entertainers, going through a lot of mental issues.
Yes.
With, because of the trauma of the beatings. And we heard the horror stories of Chris Benoit and so many fighters, so many people, going through that stuff. Do you somewhere see a similarity in some of the fighters' patterns? The biggest example is Diego Sanchez. And then if you look at the past, is where you had guys like War Machine, who fought long back, Melvin Gillard, a bunch of the, I would say the older school fighters where they've gone a little crazy. I think you feel somewhere that it's like the WWE after that introduced psychologists and counseling for these guys.
Well, I'm not an expert at that, but what I do know is that a lot of WWE stars, they consume certain substances that do not work well for the mental well-being. And eventually after a certain point of time, when you have hormonal imbalances, you don't think straight. And
True.
there are certain actions that you do which cannot be reversed, which is very, very sad. But that is the nature of the sport. Now, similar in MMA, yes, you cannot take any banned substance, but when you're constantly getting hit on the head, it does affect you at a very, very severe level. I mean, look at some
Especially
boxers.
guys who've been in the war. No, boxers. But the guys who have been in wars, like guys like Chris Lieben, guys like Diego Sanchez, guys like I can't. It's not coming to me at the top of my head. But guys like Forrest Griffin walked away from the sport. Before that went wrong.
Yeah.
Guys like Stephen Bonner walked away from the sport because these guys put on. It's very. It's such a sad thing. I'll share this story with you quickly because, and this I'm not even kidding about this, and I'm probably sure he doesn't remember it. I remember when I met Phil Baroni in Bombay.
Yeah.
And we were out in a club. We had finished the event and we were all together partying and had dinner and all that. And after a point, Phil didn't know where he was for a second. And he's can you drop me back to my hotel room? And I said, of course. Come on, it's Phil Baroni.
Yeah.
And then he became normal again.
Yeah.
And I think it's that damage.
It is.
Because he forgot where he was for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does happen because...
And he wasn't even drinking that night.
Yeah.
He wasn't drinking. He was sober. Like it happens to me, I agree. I'm not playing.
But so these things...
it's a sad story though. It's not a fun story at all. I mean, it sucks.
It's a part of the sport. Now, each professional sport has a lot of, backlogs when it comes to... physical health, like, be it cricket or be it football, you always have your knees damaged, your ankles are damaged, your hips are damaged,
NFL.
So,
man,
and this is all because professional sports requires you to be at the highest level 24 hours a day for 10 years of your career.
Minimum.
And it's not easy. It's not easy being in this game. Like, I mean, if you go to any, physiotherapist, they will always see that a professional athlete is imbalanced because they have a strong side and they have a weak side. And it's just the way this industry works. And see, competition is so high and increasing by each year. Everybody wants to be the best. So honestly, the human body and science are just pushing these guys to be the best at all times throughout their career. And man, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but this is the harsh truth of life.
It's true. And this is not the only time that we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring on some experts like Ashdin Doctor to come and talk about, how, these things can come in. And we're going to get in some specialists to come and talk about this because this is a very serious issue. And we always worry about, fighter safety is everything.
Correct.
And as compared to boxing, mixed martial arts has had a lot fewer incidents of this. But I wouldn't say that they're not there. Maybe they're just not being published. Maybe they're manifesting itself in different ways. And, so we're definitely going to revisit this. But we're going to take a quick commercial break now. And we're going to come back with our final bit where we discuss the upcoming fight card. Stay tuned.
Do you know Tamil? Tamil puriyuma? Do your children enjoy great stories that inculcate good values? Hi, I am Ravishankar Balachandran and I host the Storytime Tamil podcast. I am excited to share a short story with great moral values every day. Listen to Storytime Tamil on the IVM Podcast app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 12 of the Fighting G.O.A.T.
Fighting G.O.A.T. I feel like energy is Kamra. Cyclone and all,
Team Chips and Team Kamra are having a general conversation. We're going with the flow for this one. And we're going to be speaking on the next event, which is Cody Garbrandt, the former bantamweight champion. Who takes on Rob Font.
Rob Font, man, Cody Garbrandt. Shit. I mean, when you talk about characters,
man, seriously,
in the UFC and guys who literally, he's another candidate. What we were talking about in our earlier segment. He's another candidate, of guys who just give it their all, and someone who also took time off to figure out
exactly
how he wants to live his life, how he wants to do things. And we saw it in his last fight. He came back with a blistering knockout.
Oh, man.
The skills are still there. It's just the mind was gone for a bit.
Cody is that is that typical old school fighter who just comes there to bang. He's not there to take you down and score points and this and that. He's just there to bang. And man, what he did to Dominic Cruz to get that belt was once in a lifetime performance. I just love that. Man, I can't wait to see these two. But yeah, the other fight, what I would like to speak about is the fight between Jack Hermanson and Edmund Shabazan.
Oh man, that was supposed to happen last week.
It was supposed to happen on UFC 262, but it got pushed because Hermanson's corner had got COVID, and it is right now on the following fight card, which is UFC Fight Night. So man, Jack Hermanson and Edmund Shabazan in the middleweight division.
That's going to be fun.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
A lot of it's just a fun time, for those, it's so hard to pick the right divisions, but I would say lightweight, one of the toughest divisions. Hats off to Charles Oliveira. Yeah. What a performance he's done. What a performance he's had. Barboza's on the rise again at bantamweight.
Yeah.
I can't wait for him to come back. And there are such great matchups everywhere,
Yeah.
And then you've got India being represented by guys like by Ritu Phogat, Roshan Menam, Gurdarshan Mangat, and Arjun Bhullar. Congratulations to him, brother. You've done it. You are the heavyweight champion at ONE FC. It was incredible.
Yep. So,
Chips, amazing fight cards.
You want to speak on Jack Hermanson and Edmund Shabazan? Who's your pick for this one? We're back to it.
You're back to it? All right. Chalo. You're back. Okay, I'm going to go with Hermanson.
Okay, great. Super. That's a great pick, Jack Hermanson. I'm going to go for Jack Hermanson. So, Team Chips, Team Kamra on the same boat for a change. And for the main event in the bantamweight division, Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt. I'm
going with my boy Cody. Rob Font is hard. He's a tough SOB, but I have to go with Cody, man. I love Cody. For win, lose or draw, he's always going to be my favorite.
Like he brings the heat on.
He brings the heat, and how? But now he's become a calculated heat, so that's good.
Yeah, but
he can still be goaded into a fist fight, so that's good.
So yeah, I'm going to be in the same boat as well. I'm going to be going with Team Cody. So I think
let's see. Maybe Cyrus Brocha will finally get to hit us now when the studio opens up again. There's a lot of backlog because 2-3 fights बीच में अटक गए हैं. So
well, I think Cyrus has to hit us like some 40 times by now because we've been on the same boat and wrong so many times.
But that being said, we've made our picks. So guys, do not forget to tag us, hashtag us, come find us on social media. For me, on Instagram, I'm Arjun_Chipalkatti. On Twitter, I'm at Mystic Chipal. Go Somesh.
On Instagram, I'm Somesh.Kamra. And on Twitter, I'm Somesh_Kamra. Do make your prediction. Tag us, hashtag us. Also tag IVM Podcasts on all platforms and get a chance to win some exciting merchandise.
A chance to hang out with us. Maybe a chance for a shout out and for you guys to even be on the show with us as one of the fans.
Yes.
You got a great chance to do that. So don't forget, stay tuned. We're available on every platform, www.ivmpodcast.com. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple, wherever and whatever your choice is. So don't forget to tune into The Fighting G.O.A.T. And apart from that, a lot of other great shows only on ivmpodcast.com. This is Mystic Chip and the Superhuman Kamra saying sayonara and see you soon.
Whether you're an established sports person or a budding one or simply a sports enthusiast, join us, Tanvi and Shlok.
We are two passionate pro badminton players talking policy, mindset and everything sport.
So tune in to the Millennial Athlete every Monday.
Only on the IVM Podcast Network.
Trust us, it's gonna be lit.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shunetro.
And me, Farhad.
On our show, Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
and sometimes downright scandalous
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IVM Podcasts website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.